Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today we are here to take a fun look at my 10 favorite 4Ks from Arrow Video that I have in my collection. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. All right, so Arrow Video 4Ks. Now you guys know I did my rankings recently at the beginning of the year of like the best boutiques. I did a whole like objective list, a scoring system. I did it over the course of 2 weeks. I didn't look at, all this stuff. And like Arrow with the packaging and the quality of the 4K and the selection and all the different criteria, they edged out like Screen Factory by 1/4 of a point and Vinegar Syndrome by like 1/2 point. So those were my clear top 3. And of them, I just realized that like I don't have a massive Arrow collection yet. I have like 60 titles from Arrow. So I need to get more Arrow. Arrow, if you're out there, send them. I'd be happy to review them. I'm just kidding. I buy what I want, and there's more and more titles that I'm looking for. But if you want to talk about, we're going to keep this just specifically to 4Ks. I do have some Blu-rays from Arrow, and one of them has a 4K. And I kind of want to mention these as an honorable mention. But like just from quality of the 4Ks, my personal taste and love for the movies and all that kind of stuff, I factored that into all this, doing my top 10 here. So like there might be some that have better 4Ks than others, but they might be at a different spot on my list just because of how much I personally love the movie, different artwork, whatever it is about it. All right. So it's not a completely objective list or a completely subjective list. So it's just a fun list of some great movies. But I do want to throw some honorable mentions out there for the Blu-rays. The first one is Reanimator. I just freaking love this movie. I cannot wait for the Ignite Films 4K of this. So happy to have this in my collection till then. But I love Reanimator, so I had to shout it out. This one has a 4K. Elvira. My dad took me to see this when it came out. I love this movie. I don't have the 4K because I had just bought the Blu-ray like 3 weeks before they announced the 4K. But I'm sure the 4K looks great. I'm okay with the Blu-ray for right now. Eventually, I'll probably get the 4K just because I'm trying to, over time, I want to upgrade everything to 4K. But love it. I love this movie. It's just cheese, and I love it. And then another one that's just a really good movie. I'm an independent filmmaker, make low-budget movies, independent films, all that kind of stuff. And this movie just kind of blindsided me a little bit. I did a full review on it. I'm talking about The Last Video Store. I'm going to pound the drum on this movie every time I can. It's got all the 80s nostalgia, all that kind of stuff. It just hits me right in the feels. I love this movie. I love supporting indie filmmakers. I'm glad to see a release like this from Arrow. It's a Blu-ray, so there was no 4K option. I don't care. I love it. I wanted to mention it in this video because I love having this in my collection. I love seeing more things like this. There's a whole world of indie movies out there, low-budget independent films that we're missing out on. My films are a part of that, so I know how it is. So I'm very proud to see Arrow do this, and I think it's a great release, a shit ton of fun. If you haven't seen The Last Video Store, check out my review on it, and then decide if you want to give it a look, but I highly recommend. All right, now time for my 4Ks, my best 4Ks, my favorite 4Ks from Arrow. And this was hard, y'all, because like there's a movie like I love Walter Hill's The Warriors. It's not my favorite Walter Hill film. Crossroads is probably my favorite Walter Hill film, and then you got Brewster's Millions. You got all kinds of Walter Hill films, but I do love The Warriors, but it's not on my list. Coming in at number 10 on my list, though, is one that hits me right back to the 80s. Again, a kid when I saw this. It brings the arcade culture. Arcade was this cool place that we used to go outside of our home and play video games and eat pizza and drink, Coke and all that shit and hang out with our friends with a bunch of quarters and everything else. It brings me back to those days. This is a excellent 4K. I am talking about The Last Starfighter. Nobody talks about this movie. I know it's been out maybe a little while. Nobody ever talks about this. I love this movie. It has all the 80s like sci-fi feels and all that other stuff in there that I was mentioning. It also has Catherine Mary Stewart, who I've talked about a bunch on the channel, like when I was a kid, probably because of movies like this when I was younger. I had a little bit of a crush on her. So much fun is this movie. Sci-fi, video games. I mean, shit, man. It's just a lot of fun. It had to be on the list. I couldn't not put it on the list. I watched this a lot with my dad, my brother, growing up. Like this, I love this movie. I love it. And so The Last Starfighter, the fact it has a great 4K is absolutely awesome. So it comes in at number 10. Number 9 on my list could be higher, y'all. It is high on my favorite werewolf films of all time. I'm, of course, talking about this release of American Werewolf in London. I love showing this thing off whenever I can. I've still never taken the J card off of it. It's like a treasured thing. But this is a great release. Of course, the John Landis film. A lot of people consider this the best werewolf film of all time. Check out my list. I rank my top 10 favorite werewolves, top 10 best werewolf movies of all time. You can see where this one falls. But man, I love this movie. This is another like reference quality, basically 4K from Arrow. So much fun. The artwork is insane. Had to be on the list. Comes in at number 9. Now, number 8 on the list is one that I catch a lot of heat for. I've done a full review of this movie. I love this movie. It is actually my favorite Friday the 13th movie. I'm talking about Friday the 13th, 2009. This is a immaculate 4K. The movie is just shit tons of fun. I don't care what you say. There's nothing to pick on about it, except for the thing where they kind of try to take away the supernatural origin or the supernatural being of Jason. But they kind of 86 that by the end of the movie and kind of go back to it. But this is a great loaded release. That artwork is awesome. Severely underrated artwork there. I wish this had got a chunky box release. It's the only reason it's not higher because it is my favorite Friday the 13th film, and then part 4 or like the final chapter. But this, if it had a chunky box list or release, this would be higher. Arrow, if you're doing the other Friday the 13th movies, chunky boxes, please. Chunky boxes. They deserve it. They're iconic. I love this movie. It comes in at number 8. Now, at number 7 on my list is one that people universally agree this is reference quality. I'm a friggin' huge Verhoeven fan. Paul Verhoeven. Love this movie. I went and I had to bend over and take it to buy on the aftermarket RoboCop. I had to have this release. I grew up with this movie. My grandmother bought me for Nintendo. She bought me the RoboCop video game. I was into RoboCop. This is just a badass release by Arrow here. I mean, you got to have it. I think you can still probably get the standard edition. This is one that I couldn't not have the best edition in my collection, so I had to go and overpay for it. That's where FOMO can save you sometimes. It keeps you from having to overpay for things later. I love this release. Just a great movie, full of Verhoeven's satire, over-the-top action, all that kind of stuff. Violence, Verhoeven style to satirical levels. RoboCop, it's got to be on your list. Anybody's top 10 list of best Arrow, favorite Arrow 4Ks. For me, it comes at number 10, 9, 8, 7 on this list. Now, at number 6 on my list is probably one of the most recent. I defended this thing, but I also kind of took Arrow to task for not doing their own new 4K restoration of this movie. But this is one of my favorite Tarantino films. That's what gets it on this list this high, even though Arrow didn't do this themselves. And it's got a nice chunky box, although the art is whatever. But there's a lot of other reasons that put Inglourious Bastards up here on my list at number 6. It's one of my favorite Tarantino movies. I think I just did my Tarantino rankings, which were very controversial. I think this was at 2 or 3. You got to hit me on a different day, depending on what it is. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is always my number 1, whether you like it or not. But Inglourious Bastards, I think this thing looks so good, even though they didn't do it themselves. And it's a re-release of an old one. I still love it. Had they done a little more to it, maybe gave a little bit different artwork and stuff, it probably would have been higher. but by nature of how good the 4K does look and how much I love the film, it comes in here for me at what, number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. It's at the halfway point on the list. Now at number 5 is one of my favorite all-time Stallone movies. It's a pretty recent release. This is a great looking 4K. It is a great looking 4K. I am talking about Demolition Man. This movie's so damn fun. Stallone, Sandra Bullock, Wesley Snipes. This is so much fun. And I mean, I would have had to buy it just to see the stupid Pizza Hut version. And even though it's hardly nothing changed. The food, everything they're eating is still the same crap looking food. The 4K looks great. This movie is so much fun. Infinite rewatchability here. Sadly predicted a lot of what was going to happen in the future. Maybe that's starting to change a little bit, but to the point of satire. Like if you look at it now, it's like, shit, did they make this now and it's satirical? Love the box set release. I'm not getting into all of these, but definitely a great release here. I think you can still get this one. I highly recommend it. Demolition Man, just an absolute Stallone classic. We need Over the Top. I would love to see VSU, or I don't care who does it, but I think Over the Top VSU 4K from Arrow. We need Cobra in 4K. There's some movies out there. I was so glad to get this one, though. Badass. It comes in. Demolition Man at number 5. Number 4 on my list is one of the most generous gifts I've ever been sent by a channel member, because I know it was hard to track down out of print, and I know it's super expensive. So like getting this as just a Christmas gift was crazy town. But I am so grateful because I love this movie. I grew up on this movie. This 4K looks great. I'm talking about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. This is with Kevin Costner. This is the out of print limited edition set here. Bro, that's awesome. That artwork's awesome. I still haven't brought myself to take off the J card because the back on this one's just plain, right? But you have the whole set here. This is just an epic movie. Yes, he doesn't speak with an English accent. Yes, they changed some things. But you got Alan Rickman in here. I mean, Kevin Costner back in the day, I mean, when he was doing Bull Durham, doing this, doing Field of Dreams, Dances with Wolves, all that kind of stuff. You got Christian Slater in here for that 90s flair. There's nothing I don't like about this movie. I love adventure movies. And I love Robin Hood. And this one, I can't tell you how many times I watched this growing up. Of course, it's got, this has Dolby Atmos on it. I didn't realize that. I'm still trying to set up my Atmos system. I haven't finished setting it up. I'm going broke over here, y'all. Trying to get everything and review it all for you guys. But this movie is so much fun. Just a super generous gift. A prize in my Arrow collection is Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. It comes in at number 4 on my list. Now, at number 3 on my list is it's one of my favorite horror movies. It's close. Like I promised to always redo like my favorites list, like my favorite 25 all-time movies, my favorite horror movies. I promised when I started this channel that I wouldn't be one of those people that just ignore new, being exposed to new stuff. And so I promised I would redo those lists like once a year. As we change, our tastes change. As we get exposed to new movies, not necessarily new movies that are coming out, but like movies that we just didn't see for whatever reason, or that we see again with fresh eyes. I promise to do my rankings once a year, but for right now, this one was at the top. I love this movie. This is the 4K that cracked out my old non-OLED 4K TV. It caused clipping because the color in the 4K, the restoration was so damn punch you in the face. I'm talking about Trick or Treat. Now, I have this Blockbuster box set's aftermarket set, but I'm such a fan of this movie, I bought both versions. They're both slipcovers. The reason this isn't number 1 is because number 1's a legendary, but also because no chunky box. This is one of the biggest swings and miss whiffs for me for Arrow. This deserved a chunky box. This should have had a chunky box because, God bless, this thing is loaded with special features. I'm talking loaded with special features, and the 4K is one of the best 4Ks they ever put out. It is one of the best 4Ks they have ever put out. Let me keep saying that. One of the best 4Ks they have ever put out, and it happens to be one of my favorite horror films of all time. And I love this movie, all the Halloween vibes. The only reason it isn't higher is, like I said, it's not a chunky box, and number one's a legend, and number two is a legend. It's just, I'm splitting hairs at this point. So when you didn't give me the chunky box, and maybe there's a chunky box ahead of it, that's what's there. But my goodness, if you don't have this, get it. Get it. It is like, they don't give me nothing, y'all. This is a damn good movie. I love this movie, and this 4K is awesome. It comes in for me at number 3. Just damn, absolutely love this release. I had to make it extra special with a Blockbuster box set slip since I didn't get a chunky box. That's the only miss for me, but a great release from Arrow. All right, coming in at number 2 is another, I promise you, these are legendary. 1 and 2 are legendary films. Number 2 is my favorite all-time John Hughes movie, and it is not particularly close. Even though I'm a Gen Xer and I love Breakfast Club, this movie cooks it. Cooks it, in my opinion. I love Weird Science. And it's about to slip out on me. I love Weird Science so much. I love this artwork. I love this cover art. This is another one I feel like, this John Hughes, man. This needed a chunky box. Could you imagine that on the front of a chunky box with some other art on the back and all kinds of stuff? We needed a chunky box release for this, and we didn't get it. But I do love this art. Now, a lot of people had some problems with some grain, particularly at the beginning of this movie. In my video explaining why most 4K reviews are wrong, I'm not saying they were wrong about this particular movie with the grain, but I explained to you why that grain was probably there. The negative probably got pushed. There was probably a lighting. I explain all that. It doesn't bother me. You're watching a film, not a digital shit sandwich. Like, I mean, I have to shoot with digital when I film my movies now. I do everything I can. I put vintage lenses on my films, on my cameras. I do everything I can to make them look filmic. I'm going to use Zeiss, old Zeiss lenses. I'm going to use old Canon lenses with adapters, all that kind of stuff to make it look as much like film as I can. Because film is the most pleasing to the eye. It's not artificial. It sees how our eyes do. I love the filmic look. So that extra grain in a couple spots doesn't bother me. The colors pop. It's just one of my favorite it's on my top 25 favorite films of all time, regardless of genre. I absolutely love it. My favorite John Hughes movie. Epic release. The only thing that could have made it better was a chunky box. So we need something for that. But I absolutely love this movie. Weird Science comes in at number 2. And that just leaves number 1. There really wasn't a question. I'm an Arnold guy. I've always been an Arnold guy. I love this. It got beautiful box set, chunky box set releases. I'm going to go with just one of the films. I am, of course, talking about one of the best 4Ks to be released, Conan the Barbarian. Unquestionable. There is no debate. This is the best 4K. And this movie, like from what it went through and everything, this is just a great release. I absolutely love it. I don't think you can get more extras on a release than they did here. I think this has the most extras of any release that I've ever seen. The 4K is impressive, especially considering the movie is like 40 plus years old. They shot on location. They shot in difficult elements and all that kind of stuff. You're going to get your poster with it. You got this big book, and that doesn't even scratch the surface of the extras here. Just an absolute baller multi-disc release because you have all of the extras. When I mean all the extras, brother, I mean all of the extras on here. You can't, first, that's tiny writing. That's because if not, they'd have needed a whole damn book just to tell you about all the extras because there's so many. There is nothing to nitpick about this release. It is a flawless release, completely flawless. You could have maybe put something on the back. You want me to pick out something? You could have maybe put something on the back here. But other than that, absolutely epic, great film, great film. Launching Arnold. I love this movie. I'm so glad to see that it got the release it did and the quality it was in. It is my number 1 piece in my Arrow collection. Conan the Barbarian. And that is the list of my 10 favorite and best 4Ks in my Arrow film collection. What do you think? What are some of your favorites? What else would you add to here that you absolutely love? What do you think of my list? I love movies. I love having all these. I just wanted to share some of my favorites with you guys, some that mean a lot to me. And I absolutely love these films. I mean, no-brainers. No-brainers, right? Classics. And that's what I got for you this time. Just a fun little video. All this stuff behind us, it's all part of it, not just the new things you get. Love the stuff that you have and what it means to you. I love it all. And until next time, you guys can help support me by joining and liking, all that kind of stuff. I got my Patreon and my YouTube link down there. You're going to get special videos, your name on everything that we do here, your name in lights, as I like to say. It's all here. And I really do appreciate the support, y'all. It means the world to me. It really does. And until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. I know.